Good morning, everybody. Welcome back, or good morning for those who are just joining in. I would like to introduce our speaker today, Cansel Sörgens. She's been working in digital product management for over 13 years in a lot of different roles and tried different profiles there. And since 2016, she's been a business coach and an OKR coach. And we will be hearing more about OKRs from Cansel today. Welcome. We're happy to have you here, and take it away.
Thank you very much, Agnes. I'm happy to be here too. So thanks for the invitation. I hope everyone is enjoying the conference. I just asked Agnes how she's enjoying it. And obviously lots of new inspirations, lots of new connections. And now again, I'm such a pity that I couldn't be there, but maybe next year, who knows, right? So, but again, online conference today. Long live sweatpants, I would say. I guess many of you are back in the sweatpants. That's a good, comfortable thing also, right? So let's enjoy that. What I'm going to talk about today is OKRs, of course, but I'm going to point out the misunderstandings, misconceptions of OKRs, some of the trends I see out there that I don't really appreciate a lot. So I'm going to talk about these things. If you have any questions, please bring it to the chat. Agnes will have a look at those and check them. And at the end of the session, we will have time, hopefully, for a couple of questions then. Otherwise, you can contact me anyway to have a chat in other channels. So I'm going to share my screen now and start my presentation. I hope everyone can see it. OKR misunderstood is my topic. I'm going to tell you some of my experiences I do with my clients, and not necessarily with my clients, but what I observe from the real life experiences in the field, and also with all the chats and conversations I have with people who wants to start OKRs or who are within an OKR implementation, and what kind of misunderstandings I see there a lot. So I'm going to talk about these things. I can assure you that I read more than one OKR book, and I did more than one OKR integration. So I'm self-employed, and I did dozens of OKR integrations in the last years. So these are not just like a theoretical input, what I'm going to give you, but rather from real life experiences. All right, so why OKR? Let's start with that question actually, right? When I get in contact with my clients for the first time, this is actually the first question I ask. Why do you want to do OKRs? And most of them answer me the question with, yeah, we read about the superpowers of OKRs. Yeah, they have read these facts. It's nice, isn't it? You can memorize it easily. It gives you focus by bringing clarity, right? They want to have focus. They want to align by connecting the dots between day-to-day work and their strategy, so everyone is doing the right things. They want their employees to be more committed, to be more engaged, and OKRs promises those things. And they want to track their progress. Of course, key results are measurable, and obviously they want to see really track every step if they're on the right path. And then they say, yeah, ambitious goals. We are not doing what we could be doing. Let's get a little bit more ambitious, and then say, if we do OKRs, automatically we believe that all these facts will become true. And I say then again, okay, I don't know if it's that easy. Let's talk about it. Also, there be giants in OKR tool. They did a survey, and exactly almost the same answers they got from the survey with the clients they work with. As you see, 90% said why OKR, because they want to have an alignment with vision and strategy. right? 90%, that's a huge number when I think about it. And it's definitely also my reality when I ask my clients why OKRs. Now, when I think about these things, then I ask myself, I'm working with OKRs quite a long time now, and I always critically looking at it every time. And I say, these things the companies, the organizations want, is it only possible with OKRs? There are possible other ways, right? You can create alignment, possibly some in other ways, or increase the employee engagement with other cultural changes or whatsoever. So why OKR then? Why do I stick with OKRs? Why do I promote OKRs that strongly? Is maybe becomes clearer with that picture when I show it to you. What do you see in this picture? How does that resonate with you? Can you type it in the chat? Maybe just a couple of answers, just a word maybe, or maybe even a sentence, depending on how quickly you can type. Defining strategy in a box. We are in a box, we are in a meeting room, and we are defining the strategy from A to B. Order and chaos. Yeah. Isn't this picture lovely? I really love it. It's so telling everything, kind of. Any others? Any other comments? Have you ever been in that situation? Especially the person on the door, you know, opening the door and looking like, wait a moment, wait a second. Have you ever lived that moment? Yeah, I see Agne saying yes, definitely, obviously. Oh, yes. Yes. All right. So for me, this picture is the explanation of our world we are moving in, we are working in. We are creating products, services, we do something. And we believe, we have some assumptions. We believe if we do A, then we can go to B. The road from A to B is straightforward. If we don't do those things, then we will get to the goals we want to reach, right? And then maybe after a week, after 2 weeks, after a month, let's say, we realize that the reality is quite different. The reality is complex. I mean, we are in an Agile conference here. I don't need to explain you the differentiation between complexity and complicated, right? We have many different factors that are influencing us in the way how we work, and even the best bets we have, even the best assumptions we have, might be influenced by any surprises, by any other factors that we haven't thought of. We haven't thought of that they are being there, right? So for me, OKR is actually helping us to orient, to move around in that jungle, in that complex jungle we are working in. Now, OKRs, it's not something new, right? But I'm talking about the new kind of OKRs. If we look at the story of the OKRs, it's like started with management by objectives. That's the roots of OKRs. But we are definitely not talking about management by objectives today, not the way they are lived today. Even Peter Drucker said that he doesn't support the way how management by objectives is lived today in organizations. Then Andy Grove said, management by objectives is not enough for us at Intel. We need to do something else. So he created a new way of working for Intel. Yeah? He adapted management by objectives. And he wrote even a book about it, High Output Management. These were the 70s. Now, today, we are not talking about the output either. We are talking about the outcomes. We are talking about management by outcomes. We are on a different level now. And the OKRs I am promoting, I am implementing with my clients is that kind of OKRs that are focused on outcomes, right? Not the output. What does it mean? What is the differentiation between output, outcome? Output, many of you maybe work as product managers or creating stuff, software engineers. These are the things we really do. We deliver, we create, we do a feature, we create even a product. It could be even as big as a product, our output, right? So these are the things we do for the world. But these things we do don't create value, don't generate value unless it's used by the people, right? And that the people use it, they resonate with it, they interact with the things we create is the outcome actually we are talking about. So we don't care about that much about the output we deliver. We actually care about the interaction the people have with our output. So we focus on the outcome and say, what is the change we want to see in our clients, in our people, in the behavior of the people, and then decide on what kind of output we could be working on to create that kind of a behavioral change, right? So this is what OKRs are focusing on. And then, of course, I see sometimes, yeah, what about the revenue? What about the company metrics? I mean, we don't do just an outcome just to make people happy, just to interact with us. We want to see results with that. We want to see these outcomes, these behavioral changes turn into company success, right? And this is, of course, the last bit of it. And it's called impact KPIs, let's say, business KPIs, financial KPIs, revenue, all these things you can put into the impact part. So now, let's say you can't manage people with output by defining the outputs. That's just too low level, right? It's taking out all the creativity out of the people, and just telling them what kind of how high the revenues should be is not giving them any direction. It's not giving them any sense of strategy. So, but we try to fill the gap we want to fill with OKRs is exactly in the middle, the outcomes. Let me give you an example. An objective for any beginners who hear for the first time about OKRs, maybe it's also useful to understand what are these OKRs, objectives and key results. And an objective is an aspirational qualitative sentence describing what we want to achieve in the next 3 to 4 months. It's a short-term goal, right? And a key result is a measurable outcome, meaning how will I know that we are achieving? How will we know that we achieved our objective? And the initiatives are then the actionables. Let's say it maybe our output, right? What do we do to, how can we drive progress towards our initiatives? So let me give you an example from my personal experience. I started my business. I've been doing OKRs for a long time, but nobody knew about it. I wasn't present at all in social media or whatever, right? I was also an employee in a company, so it has a whole different situation. So I wasn't consultant or coach all the time for external clients. So it was difficult for me to get that visibility, to make people understand that I'm actually quite experienced in that and from a different level. So I said, okay, Cansel, you need to focus on your visibility, right? This is my objective, so that the people can find me. Now I said, okay, how do I know that I become visible? How do I know that? And I wrote these key results. I write a blog post per month. I do social media posts weekly, and I want to get to the conferences, so I submit papers. How do you like these key results? Do they tell me if I achieve my objective? Please write your answers in the chat. These are output, question mark, is saying a person, not results, right? Anyone else? Those are initiatives. not key results. Exactly. We have some good experts in the room. So obviously, these are exactly what I've been talking about. These are our tasks, my initiatives, my to-dos that I can do to achieve my goals, right? Now I wrote those. What do you think about those things? They are also measurable. I have leads, people finding me, coming to me. I have clients, and I've made some income. How do you like those? Write your answers in the chat. Are these better key results? Doesn't sound like direct visibility, result of visibility. It's a little bit more far away, right, from counting my visibility. Yes. Any other opinions? There are KPIs, someone is saying. Yeah, that's actually quite the exact word I was looking for. These are my KPIs, right? So these should be, of course, monitored, and I should be reaching these goals. This is, how I survive as a self-employed. So as a company, how we survive by making money and having clients. But these are not influenceable directly, right? These are the results of things I do maybe at the end. But what's in the middle? What's my strategy? How do I put my bets on it to get there? This is something I can measure only at the end. I need time to measure those things. I can't measure them on a weekly basis or every once in a month maybe, right? So now I show you another examples of key results. I have visitors in my web page, and I want hundreds, thousands views. I have engagement in social media, which means if people engage with me in social media, my visibility will increase. And I get invited to conferences. Thanks, Agile Vilnius, for the invitation. That's, proving my key results. Because I said, if I get invited to conferences, it shows that I created some sort of visibility. So these are my measurable outcomes, right? These are my key results. And I can write in blog post or not. Maybe it's not, the solution is not the blog post, maybe it's something else. So I'm not fixated on the blog post. I'm not fixated in a social media post maybe, or how often I do it. I'm fixated on my outcomes. This is what I want to achieve. And I can vary and test and experiment with different initiatives to get there. This is the core of OKRs, right? We don't know if a blog post will work. We can only know that if we collect evidence, and doing this means reaching my key result, measuring my key result. All right, great. Now we know how good OKRs can be written, but what does it mean for a team? If they know OKRs, if they can write the best OKRs in the world, does it help them? I say no. Alone, a team writing OKRs won't help them. They need something longer than just short-term goals. They need a longer orientation. And this is unfortunately something that is really underestimated in the space of OKRs. Alignment, you remember 90% set alignment, but most of them mean, most of the time, a kind of a cascading alignment. And I'm saying, no, we need a strategic alignment. This is the most important part of OKRs. We have a vision, we have a purpose. We should be aware of our strategy. I mean, the gap between the vision and the things we do, and even our OKRs, if we do that right, is still too big. Vision is endless, OKR are for 3 months, imagine, right? So this is a huge gap. What we need to do is focusing on the strategic change we want to create, in the next 12 to 18 months. I'm not saying you should be writing OKRs for a whole year. I'm saying create your strategy, define what do you want to focus on, right? And this part is the most underestimated part in the whole OKR implementations. I don't start any OKR implementation without having the discussion about strategy, without having defined a clear strategy for everyone. Someone is not in mute, Agne, just for your information. What is a strategy? It is definitely not a roadmap of features. It is definitely not a KPI dashboard, right? And it's not evergreen statements I see in the slides like a pillar and really nicely visualized. These are not strategy. These are KPIs are the targets, the wish we want to achieve, right? We just talked about it. Roadmaps are showing us what projects, what outputs we want to focus on. It's not telling us the strategy actually. And the evergreen statements are also some a little bit more tangible than a vision maybe, but still not tangible enough, still not telling me how I create a great customer experience, right? So strategy should be, I'm really influenced here by Roger L. Martin, Simon Wardley, and Richard Rummet, saying that strategy is a current and actionable set of choices. That's important, right? We can't do everything. We need to choose something that we want to bet on, of where we want to play and how we intend to win that play field in a foreseeable future. That's the strategy. How do we get there? We need to collect the strategic insights. We need to be aware of the market, of the customer segments, of our competitive advantages. What are the problems? What are the opportunities out there? We need to be clear about these insights, being aware of the play field. On the other hand, then we can say, if this is the situation now, what do we do out of it? How can we use it to our advantage? And then we can sharpen our value proposition and focus on an outcome that is not reachable maybe in 3 months, and not only by one team, but maybe a collection of many teams together working towards the same North Star. Then this is the real strategic focus we need in order to write our OKRs. Then we can only ask the teams to create ideas. Then they have an alignment. Then they can autonomously say how they intend to reach that strategy, how they intend to validate that strategy, right? And then we can create our roadmaps. Now, if we have this kind of strategic alignment, right, and then the whole OKR architecture is also changing. The idea of how to implement OKRs. As you see, it's all connected with each other, how we do that. Okay, I forgot the business impacts, but you got the idea. At the end, of course, we want to have an organizational success, which we can measure with our KPIs. The architecture, so what do we see out there? I just saw today in LinkedIn another example of this company OKR, department OKR, team OKR, and even individual OKRs. Oh my God, no, please don't. Right? This is a cascading thing. Imagine something changing in company OKR. Imagine something changing in department OKR. You need to change everything else because it's so strictly connected with each other. We don't need that. We want to be agile. We want to become more flexible in a structured way, right? We want to be adaptive. So this is definitely not helping to that. This is OKRs from hell. This example here you see, a manager writing OKRs, manager's key results becoming team's objective, and then teams should write key results. No way. And then again, individual, oh my God, no, please don't do that. I know there are lots of examples from really great books that giving these kind of examples, ignore them. Please don't do that. Don't do that. This is missing the real power of OKRs. What do we do instead? We create networks. We create, the only thing we said we need actually to start as a starting point is a midterm strategy, right? Once we have that, all we need is a team connecting to that strategy, to working towards that strategy. This is the only unit we need, actually. However, a team is defined. This is variable, right? So however, the team, how you define the team in your organization, we need to look at those things also. There are different types of teams. There is maybe a product team. There's maybe a product department, product unit, whatever. They can do their OKRs. If you have a product, you can have a product OKR and then let the sub-product teams maybe work on these OKRs. A sub-product team doesn't necessarily need to have an OKR maybe then, right? So don't get fixated in the idea that every unit needs to have OKRs. What you need is that every strategy, every idea we want to work on needs an OKR actually, and then align the people towards that. Maybe a marketing team is doing something totally different, but also connected with the product, of course, they want to market, right? So maybe they are connected, maybe they have their own OKRs, but also connected with product OKRs. Maybe we have a strategic theme that we just started and don't have a team yet. So we need to create a mixed teams of people who is interested in work on those things till we have a dedicated team, maybe, right? So give an option to these things also. And Felipe Castro wrote about that a lot, also Jeff Gotthelf, shared OKRs. So we should be not fixated on silos that every legal team, web development team, sales team, they have their own OKRs. Maybe they work on the same thing. Think of the end-to-end value chain, right? So can a legal team alone or a CRM team alone create a value for end customer? Probably not. So you need to be collaborating with other teams together to create that value. So why not have a totally together written or shared OKRs, and then every team works on those OKRs. If you want to create alignment, do this instead of telling every team you have to do OKRs now. All right, that's a rant. I just finished now. Number of teams doesn't mean that you have number of OKR teams. It doesn't equals, right? So please get that as a message. Employee engagement, another thing that is mentioned a lot. What do you think how people are engaged? If you see the cascading model or if you see the networking model? Can you write your answer in the chat? A, cascading, B, networking. The first picture is A, the second picture is B, networking. Networking, it's quite obvious, isn't it? I mean, how could a person be engaged or get creative when the goals are given top down and say, you do that, you do that. It doesn't work. Obviously, it doesn't work. It's just in the common sense, right? So I have another slide about intrinsic motivation, but I have the feeling that I actually made my point about that the people need their own purpose, autonomy, and of course the mastery to work on these goals. Only then we can create an employee engagement. So if we activate this intrinsic motivation. And of course, how you do OKR plays a huge role in that. So if you do cascading OKRs and then expect to increase the employee engagement, farewell, it won't happen, right? And then after a year, you will say, OKR didn't help to increase the OKR engagement. No wonder, no surprise there. Another issue I want to mention is what I quite often see is that OKRs are not embedded well in the organization, right? So they feel like on top, they feel like this is something different we do. I don't know why, but there are some OKRs out there. We don't know how to handle these things, right? So I see lots of other frameworks, Scrum, design thinking, SAFe, Kanban, all these things are existing already in many organizations. I haven't met in the last 5 years an organization who didn't have Scrum or Kanban in any way. So here it's important to understand which framework is for which purpose there and how do we connect those, right? So if you have Scrum and then ask yourself the question, why OKRs? Ask yourself, what's this doing Scrum and what's this doing OKRs? What's the difference? How they can complement each other? What you shouldn't be doing is just renaming the existing artifacts, existing elements. If you are doing project management, you shouldn't name the project objective now just because you are doing OKRs. Please don't. Please don't name your epics objectives. This is a whole different story, right? A key result is not a milestone. It's not a task. It's not a user story. Please be aware of these things. If you have managed to understand this outcome-oriented thinking, that OKRs are to define those outcomes, and the work we do, whatever it is derived from OKRs, then you are on a good way, right? I offer quite often, frequently, workshops on this space, how to combine framework OKR with Scrum, for example. Or in German, I have in December coming up, innovative workshop with OKRs, design thinking and Scrum, how to combine those. We can send you the links to those. Agne, if you help me, is perfect. I have a 10% discount for these two events for you, if anyone is interested. First one is English, the second one is German. Please be aware of that. If you give you the code Agile Vilnius 22, then 5 people, first come, first serve, will get the discount. Now I want to get to one more topic. I'm checking how much time I have left. Growth and innovation. Wow, OKRs can help us to innovate, right? And then I see, okay, what's struggling actually the organization in becoming innovative? I saw this survey from HBR. I want to ask you what you think. What's the biggest obstacle to innovation in organizations? What do you think? What the answers were? What's the biggest obstacle? Or obstacles, let's say, there are many listed down. What do you think? Right, type in the chat. No slack time, top-down solutions. Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. Any other ideas? Fair to have a mistake. Wow, yes. No time for innovation. Exactly, right? So these are the results here. You see, no alignment, we covered that. We talked about it. Yearly plans, yes, please do yearly plans to become innovative, right? Cultural issues. This is something that I can mention that if you do the key results and use them for performance management, the people will just do what they believe they can definitely reach, because no one wants to stay there and say, you didn't reach your key results, bad note, right? So it's so obvious. Of course, you don't use OKRs for your performance management. Another reason it's here is inability to act on critical signals or developments. And this is where I am going into it now, how OKR can help with that. Key results are dangerous because they have metrics and they can become toxic if misused. If you use your key results not to measure, just to measure something, but to learn, then you are using the real power of key results. In other words, I love this picture from Visualize Value. Follow this person. It's great visualizations of many aspects. If the key results, the only reason for key results should be actually you collect evidence and data, and this data should tell you when to pivot, if it's time to pivot or not, right? This is the reason why we have measurable key results. So work with those, and then you will, from 100 ideas you try, 1 will excel, and then maybe you will get that innovation idea you've been searching for. Last but not least, OKR implementation. How many times I've seen that they do OKRs, we have to do it for everyone now, right away. Have a project plan for OKR implementation. It's so contradictory. So what I say is OKR is a complex topic. It's a cultural change. It's a shift from outputs to outcomes. It's not easy. It doesn't come easy. It's not happening in 1 week. So please ignore the classical, traditional change curve models and say, if we communicate enough, the people will get it. Don't do that. You know, just invite the people to experiment it, to try it out. You know, start with your early adopters. There are always early adopters in any organization who will be willing to do that. Work with those people and then learn by doing that. Because OKR, I do it for dozens of organizations, and every time it's different. Every time how we do OKRs, it gets adapted in the organization is totally different. So be aware of that, and then start slowly. The benefits of OKRs you will see it later in the third or fourth cycle. This means the first cycle, the second cycle is huge, lots of efforts, lots of new learnings. Don't overwhelm people, right? Start with early adopters who doesn't mind having that kind of work, who is really lucky to have those, happy to have those. Now, my last three key takeaways are: understand why at all OKRs. That's, be really clear about that you are solving complex problems with OKRs and not just strictly cascading to command and control people. Create strategic alignment. OKR is not work if you don't have a strategy behind it, right? The people need to have an alignment, only then they can become autonomous. And use the key results done to evaluate people or the performance of the people. Use it to learn fast. This is becoming your innovative advantage, actually. If you need any help, contact me. I can help you with OKR implementations, with strategy development, OKR plannings, whatever it is. Just get in contact with me on LinkedIn, Twitter. I do OKR Lean Coffee monthly with Felix and Sandy together. So it's an English-speaking event. You are more than welcome. So I hope we have time for questions, Agne. What do you think?
We do, absolutely. We have 8 minutes for questions. And the first question that's been upvoted multiple times is, how would you explain what an OKR is to a 10-year-old child?
To a 10-year-old child? Oh, what a nice question. I love it. I had a conversation about it actually lately with my nephew. He's preparing for the exams to get into a university, right? And he, of course, needs to excel in some points. So I told him, pick a subject you are not good at right now, but you need to be good at, and pick this subject and give you some goals, what you want to achieve in this subject as a node, and then try different approaches, try different ways of how you get better in learning and solving the problems in that subject, right? So, and then you can have a check every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, doing a test dummy exam if you are getting better. If you are not getting better, maybe then you change the way how you work, right? So this is, of course, not a 10-year-old child. A 10-year-old child, in the conversation I had with another person, she told me, I explained my child OKRs with, you want to have an ice cream? What's your strategy for that? Yeah, that's your objective, having an ice cream. So, but people tell you no. What do you do? What do you try out? Crying, saving your own money for that, so you don't, different strategies you can try out to get to your objectives at the end. I don't know. Maybe I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I love the idea of bringing an example that is relevant to that person. If it's a child and it's getting ice cream, right? Their language. Love it. Okay, you're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat. Hope you can see them. Lots of compliments and hearts. But there is one more question, which is about downsides of OKRs. Are there other downsides of cascading OKRs besides breaking synchronization?
Of course, the creativity is dying if you do it cascading, top-down cascading. I mean, if I have no possibility to create my own ideas, my own assumptions, bets, and so on, hypothesis, how to get to a specific, how to reach a specific goal, then I'm just doing what some other people are telling me. Right? So if we do that cascading part of OKRs, we are killing any type of creativity. And then, again, you remember innovation, growth, no chance for that, because we are just as intelligent as the person telling what to do, telling the OKRs, right? So it's based on one person's mind, and this is probably not the only smartest person in the room. There are many people in the organizations who have great ideas. We just need to use that potential. And by cascading OKRs, we are killing that way. We are blocking that way.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, creativity indeed is very important, and that requires
absolutely
a certain environment. I just want to hang on for a minute in case someone else formulates a question. These were the two that were submitted beforehand. I guess the question that I've had listening to you and like thinking about my own experience was, can you share some examples or some more examples of misused OKRs that you've seen as a coach that's you were seeing and just like, oh no, that's completely wrong? What the most common patterns have you seen in your career so far?
One that really annoyed me was that one person going to an OKR training for 2 to 3 days and then rolling out OKRs for the whole organization, right? 3 days OKR training and then rolling it out for the whole organization. This is, oh my God, please don't do that. And then after a year, they came with a question, can we do an OKR planning workshop? And what I found there was, I didn't know where to start with, right? There were so many misunderstandings, so many mistakes made on the way, which is natural. It's not because the people are bad or so. It's just natural that you do these mistakes. I did them myself when I did for the first time as an employee, my first OKR implementation back in 2016, because I read some guides that I found in internet. 2016 Germany, there wasn't much about going on in Germany about OKRs. So it's natural to do these mistakes. So if you want to save yourself time and money, get some experts on board, get some coaches on board who already did these mistakes, who already saw these mistakes being made, so you can avoid them. It saves a lot of time and money, I promise.
All right. We've got 2 more minutes left and we have 2 more questions just come in as you were talking. So let's try. First one, will it work if the top level management is not having this approach, but people are just trying to work this way?
I had that indeed. Because sometimes, especially if you are an internal coach, sometimes it's not that easy to, to tell people there's OKR, can we do that, and so on. There's always a challenge there. What I did, I was working with an Agile transformation team. We were doing the Agile transformation back then with Agile coaches and Scrum Masters. And I was already having that OKR experience back then in my previous company I worked with. And I said, guys, why not write down our goals of Agile transformation, our vision, strategy, and what we want to achieve in next 3 months as OKRs. And so I started working with them. It helped us as a team, obviously, but then you shouldn't have the expectation that some point management will then see it and know it. Just do it for yourself if you believe that it will help your work. On the other hand, which is dangerous, is that starting these bottom up roots movement and then, at the end, go to the management and involve them. Management at some point, if it's getting really important for product management to have OKRs, in developing the strategy is kind of a leadership job, right? If they are not on board with that, then the product team might be doing great OKRs, but if it's really aligned with the company strategy, with the expectations of the company, then it becomes fuzzy, right? So at some point, you definitely need management on board, but why not just try it out for yourself, right? For your team, if you don't expect any support, if you can do it autonomously.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your answer. We are at time. So Gintaras, we didn't get to your question. If you do want an answer, try to find Cansel in the Hova platform or in other media. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to talk about it. Thank you very much, Cansel, for your presentation.
Thank you.
By the amount of audience engagements, looks like everyone really loved it. And in that, folks, please share your feedback on the menti.com link that I shared earlier on. Feedback is essential. We are Agilists. We love feedback. And we will be handing out prizes for people that most actively participated in the conference at the end of the day. So there will be prizes for feedback givers. There will be prizes for most active people in the Hova leaderboard, and there's a separate prize for people who will share their experience of the conference in pictures. All right. Once again, thank you, Cansel. We were glad to have you on board.